I teach 5-paragraph writing? Well, that depends. There are different approaches, and some people will go all the way through their elementary years and not begin to do 5-paragraph writing till their kids are in junior high. That's okay. The public system will often have kids writing 5 paragraphs by the time they're in 4th grade. It doesn't have to be that way. I'll tell you what we do in WriteShop and our approach and why it works, and then you can kind of flex with that a little bit. So we don't introduce 5-paragraph writing until the students are in WriteShop Junior Book E, which is the 4th, 5th grade level. And at that, that's this one here. At the very end of that year, so toward the end of 4th or the end of 5th, depending on when you started that book. And some parents will use that with 6th graders too, so it could even be at that point, and that's fine. It's not like, okay, we've missed our opportunity to do 5-paragraph writing. No, you're going to be good. So we introduce 5-paragraph writing toward the end of WriteShop Junior Book E, and again at the end of WriteShop Junior Book F. So if you're brand new to WriteShop and you're jumping right in at Book F because you've got a 6th grader or a youngish 7th grader and they've never done 5-paragraph writing or they didn't do Book E, it's totally fine. If you're not using WriteShop and you're just wondering about this kind of writing, it just gives you a ballpark idea of when you can do that. So basically, we're giving students the foundation of good, solid paragraphs before they begin 5-paragraph writing. We want them to know how to write a strong sentence and combine sentences into strong paragraphs. Then we know they're ready to begin to write longer paragraphs. And some kids will not be there. And if you're using WriteShop Junior and you get to that point and you say, oh goodness, we're just not there yet, that's okay. We even give you suggestions for how to backpedal a little bit. If your child is not at that point, how can you adapt the lesson if they're not ready for 5 paragraphs? So that's the first time we introduce it. Then something really interesting happens. They do, writing stories and poems, and then they get to 5 paragraphs in Book E. Then they start in Book F and they go back to writing shorter stories and their poem, and then they jump back into 5-paragraph writing again. Then they get to WriteShop I, which is the junior high or high school level. So it depends. If your kids are going straight through, they would do WriteShop I probably in 7th grade. But if you are starting at a later time, that's okay. You can just start where you are. But why do we go from 5-paragraph writing in Book E and F to single paragraph writing throughout most of WriteShop I? And that's because our focus shifts a little bit. When we get to WriteShop I, the students move from learning how to do their good structured, write their stories and learn to start to use stronger words and so forth. When they get to WriteShop I, we're working much more on the aspect of style and technique. So at this point, they're learning to avoid passive writing, avoiding their to-be words. And so by doing that, we have to teach them a bunch of different sentence variations. And those sentence variations involve learning grammatical skills that they can apply. So beginning sentences with paired adjectives, or beginning sentences with present participial phrases, or using a simile, or using an appositive to extend the length of a sentence. If kids are doing a 5-paragraph essay or story, they will be so overwhelmed to add all these stylistic techniques. So we're teaching them in the confines of a small composition. As they go further along in WriteShop I, they're paragraphs will get longer and longer. They will eventually get to 2 and then 3 paragraphs. And then when they get to WriteShop II, that's when we teach them the 5-paragraph essay. So they will learn a completely different kind of 5-paragraph writing when they get here than what they learned when they were in WriteShop Junior. So because WriteShop I and II can begin as early as 7th grade for WriteShop I, 8th grade for WriteShop II, but you can also start it with a 9th grader, a 10th grader, depending on your student and how much writing they've had and what they need. They may jump right in and not be doing their first experience with 5-paragraph writing until they are in 9th or 10th grade. Again, that's okay. If they get that experience, then by the time they are in upper high school, they're ready for more advanced essay writing and research papers.